Today we're looking at how to write, interpret, and simplify expressions. You sometimes think of this as working out word problems. So your essential question is, how do I model situations and simplify expressions? Learning intentions. I'm learning to write an algebraic expression, interpret the parts of the expression, and use a distributive property to simplify the expression. So you've got a warm-up. Draw the line from the property in the first column to the example in the second column. Pause the video and see if you can get that done now. I hope you tried on your own. The commutative property. Commutative means what does not matter. Order. So if I'm looking, which one shows order? A plus B plus C equals A plus C plus B. So this would be my commutative property. Associative property. If commutative means order does not matter, associative means grouping does not matter. So I'm looking for my parentheses. The quantity of A times B times C is equal to the A times the quantity of B times C. That's your associative. Remember, when you're trying to remember which is which, communication means back and forth. You're switching who's starting. Associative means you've got a big organization and we're regrouping people. Identity property of addition. When I add them, what happens? Think of what your identity is. Your identity is who you are. You do not change your identity, you're always who you are. So identity means it will not change when you're adding. You will not change the number. So the only thing you can add to everything is 0, and it will not change the number you start with. Okay, identity property of multiplication. What can you multiply by? It will not change the number. That would be by 1. Zero property of multiplication. What happens when you multiply by 0? You get 0. Additive inverse. Think of inverse as reversing. What would be the opposite of? So if you're looking for your additive inverse, which one would it be? If you said it would be the opposite, you'd have 7 plus negative 7, which would be what you're looking for. Multiplicative inverse, you multiply it and you get 1. So that would be clear up at the top. And those are your different properties. We will continue to review these off and on because you're supposed to know these different properties in Algebra 1. Okay, so a blank is a mathematical phrase that combines numbers and or variables using mathematical operations. Remember, this will not have a equal sign. An expression is a mathematical phrase that combines numbers and or variables using mathematical operations. Parts of the expression are called what? Begins with a T. Each part is called a term. Okay, the numerical factor in a variable term is called a what? Well, it's called the coefficient. But what if there's not a number in that term? What would that coefficient be? Well, it would be a coefficient of 1 because when you multiply by 1, nothing changes. Variable terms whose variables and their exponents are the same. So let's think about what that means. Their variables and their exponents are the same. So I could have 2x squared. I could have 5x squared. I could just have x squared. What do we call those? Those are called like terms. Expressions are what if they have the same value for all values of the variables? They are called equivalent or equal. If no matter what number you put into each side, you'll still have an equal statement. Okay, so how do you use this? How do you apply this? Well, let's look at some examples. At the store, Kaylee buys a total of 44 ounces of apples and grapes. Let A represent the weight in ounces of the apples that Kaylee buys. Explain why 44 minus A is an expression for the weight of the grapes in ounces. 44 minus A. Why is that the weight of the grapes? Well, because 44 is the total amount she bought, minus A, which is the weight of the apples she bought, and that would leave you with what were the amount of ounces left over for the grapes. Because she bought a total of 44 ounces of fruit. When you remove the ounces of apples, you are left with the ounces of grapes. Okay, so the total minus your apples will leave you with the amount of grapes you have. Okay, use the conversion factor, pound per ounce, to write the expressions in the weights of the fruit so that the units are compatible with the cost. So we've got it in ounces, but we need it in pounds. If you noticed, we are looking about $2 per pound, $1.50 per pound, not per ounce. But they gave us the the weight in ounces. So let's convert it. So if you're looking at this, what are you going to do first? Okay, so if it's in A, then the weight in pounds, this is your conversion factor, is 0.0626 times A. Okay, now grapes, the weight in ounces is 44 minus A. So to convert it, we would have to put 44 minus A in parentheses. So find the expression of the price of the fruit per ounce. So if we're looking at that per ounce, what does it look like? So we've got to do that conversion. So we go into using that conversion weight in pounds. We start off with, what do the apples cost per pound? $2. So we take $2, then multiply it by our conversion, 0.0626 A. Okay, that's the price of the apples, but what about the price of the grapes? How much are the grapes? $1.50. So we have to add that $1.50 times 0.0626 times 44 minus A. Wow, that was a lot of little bitty numbers. So the easiest way to do this, of course, is to use your calculator. You could do it by hand, but it will always take a lot longer. 2 times 0.0626, 0.1252 A. Okay, so if you're looking at this, we've got to go to the middle. We've got to distribute this here, the 0.626 to the 44 and the minus A. So we've still got the 1.50. And 0.0626 times 44. We've got 2.7544 minus 0.0626 A. I should give myself more room, huh? Okay, now what? Well, now we're going to distribute the $1.50. So the first one doesn't change. 0.1252 A plus 1.50 times 2.7544. I get 4.1316. Minus, that would be 1.50 times 0.0626, and I get 0.939 A. Oh, that was a lot of work. Now what? Well, we're going to combine our like terms. So we're going to add the two A's together. One of them's negative. So 0.1252 minus 0.939, and I've got negative 0.8138. Oh, I didn't get my extra zero in there. I knew that wasn't right because it should be positive. 0.1252 minus 0.0939. So if you notice, I had actually copied down this part wrong. Okay, so now 0.1252 minus 0.0939, and I get 0.01313. Plus 4.1316. Combine my like terms. This is the expression I would look at. Okay, so if I bought 12 ounces of apples, how much did I spend? Well, we would substitute the 12 into our expression. So 0.0313 times 12 plus 4.1316. Okay, now, as I'm looking at this, we're talking about money. So when I get ready to round, how far out will I round? Okay, 0.0313 times 12 plus 4.1316. 4.5072. I rounded to the nearest what? The nearest hundredth. So this would be $4.51 because the 7 would cause the 0 to round up. So as you can see, with math, you can figure out about anything you want to. Sometimes looking at, there's really, really small numbers, and that's okay. That's when we will use our calculator to make sure that we are able to get it done correctly. Okay, so at the movies, children's tickets are $6 each, and adult tickets are $10 each. Chandra buys 14 tickets. Let A be the number of adults going to the movies. Write an algebraic expression to represent the total price that Chandra will pay. So as we're looking at this, we've read it through. Do we understand what it's asking? Well, it's asking for an expression based off of the number of adult tickets. So children's tickets are $6. Adult tickets are $10. There's a total of 14 tickets, and let A be the number of adult tickets. Okay? So, A is the number of adult tickets. Okay, let's use our symbols here. Okay, if she bought A amount of adult tickets and she only bought 14, What would you use for the children's tickets? The total, which is 14, minus the number of adults, will be the number of children tickets. Okay, so what will our expression look like? What does an adult ticket cost? 10. That would be 10A. What does a child's ticket cost? 6. Well, how many children's tickets do we have? 14 minus A. Are we going to simplify? Yep. So this will be 10A plus 6 times 14. That would be 60 plus 24, which would be 84, minus 6A. Combine your like terms. 10A minus 6A is 4A, plus 84. There's your expression. How many feet are in a yard? In Y yards? Well, how many feet are in 1 yard? 3. So that would be 3 times Y. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to simplify expressions. We've got the expression 2 times m plus 6 times the quantity of 2/3 minus m when m is equal to 4. Now, there's several ways we can do this. We can substitute in and then simplify, or we can simplify and then substitute in. If I'm looking at this, I'd probably simplify first, because 2/3 of 6, well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So 2/3 of 6 would be 4, and it would make my process much easier. So I'm going to start out by simplifying my expression. I have to multiply each thing by 6. 2m plus 2/3 of 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2, times 2 is 4, minus 6m. Combine your like terms. 2m minus 6m is negative 4m plus 4. Now I'm going to substitute in. Negative 4 times 4 plus 4. Negative 16 plus 4 would give me negative 12. Okay, same thing again. I'm going to go ahead and substitute. I'll simplify everything and substitute, and then I'll substitute in last. So I'll do my distributive property, simplify that expression, and substitute. Now, if I'm looking at this, 3 times 0.5 would be 1.5. Sometimes it's very easy to do the math, and sometimes you need a little bit of help. 3 times negative p is negative 3p. Plus 4 times p is 4p. 4 times 0.75. 75 cents times 4 would give me $3, because this would be 3 over 4. That's 3/4 of a dollar. 4, so that would be 3. Now, whenever you're not sure, you go ahead and put it in your calculator to check your answer, and it is 3. Okay, combine your like terms. Negative 3p plus 4p leaves me with 1p. 1.5 plus 3 is 4.5. Substitute 2 in for p. 2 plus 4.5 gives me 6.5. And we're done. So make sure that as you're going through this, you pause, you think. Math is all about thinking and looking at it logically. So for the last one, Michael spends half an hour adding water to his pool. Part of that time is at a rate of 15 gallons per minute, and the rest of the time is at a rate of 9 gallons per minute. Let T be the time in minutes that he adds water at the faster rate. Write an algebraic expression to represent the total amount of water added to the pool. So take a minute, highlight everything, think about it, see if you can find this expression on your own. Pause the video. Okay, he spends half an hour. So half an hour is how many minutes? That would be 30 minutes. Adding water to his pool. Part of the time is at a rate of 15 gallons per minute. The rest of the time is at a rate of 9 gallons per minute. Let T be the time in minutes he adds the water at the faster rate. So, if we're looking at this, T stands for time at 15 gallons per minute. What about the 9? What would that look like? How many total minutes? 30 minus T time at 9 gallons per minute. That didn't come out right. I'm going to have to erase here. And that's not, it's not wanting to erase very good. We'll be okay though. 9, that's my G per M. Okay, so putting it all together. So this would be 15T plus 9 times 30 minus T. Okay, 15T plus 9 times 30 is 270 minus 9T. Combine your like terms. 15T minus 9T gives me 6T plus 270. That is the expression I would use. How do you know you're successful? You know you're successful when you can write an algebraic expression, interpret the parts of the expression, and use the distributive property to simplify the expression. So, if you had to put a summary, what is 1 or 2 words you could use for your summary? Or even 1 or 2 sentences. No more than 2, because you wouldn't want to rewrite the whole notes. Well, I might put something as little as simplifying expressions. And then I might put with different, how would you put it, times, amounts, variables, with different amounts. Because that amounts would get me to look back over and see what I'm talking about. And then I'd come up here and say, oh, this is what I'm talking about. Time, and then the total time minus that piece. So I can remember on my word problems.